Vasudevaya. Oh my Lord, in all creating personality of God, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagwatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Sri Vyasdev, the author. Nashnaprayeshu Matreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishkiti. Regular attendance in the classes on Bhagwatam.
And service to the purity. All that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of God, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. O Magyana, the light of knowledge, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. God. Hare Krishna, everyone. Today's verse is from Canto 7 of the Srimad Bhagwatam. And it's a mystery chapter and a mystery verse. So soon it will be unmystified. Soon.
The chapter, the Canto 7 is already done, right?
Yes, but here we were summary.
Doing a summary. Is there a verse?
There is not defined what's for it, like
Just have to do a summary of the whole canto. Oh my God. Can we just choose the verse? Would that be okay? Did you do the last verse since you're finishing it?
Yes.
You did do the last one. Okay. Well, why don't we just do something like this then? Chapter 1 and the summary of the first chapter. How's that? The Supreme Lord is equal to everyone. How's that?
We did yesterday.
You did that one? Okay. So you did that one. Okay. The Supreme Lord is equal to everyone. Let's see. Shall we talk about Hiranyakashipu? Okay, the summary, okay? 55, okay. Chapter 2. Hiranyakashipu, king of the demons. As described in this chapter, after the annihilation of Hiranyaksha, Hiranyaksha's sons and his brother Hiranyakashipu were very much aggrieved. Hiranyakashipu reacted very sinfully by trying to diminish the religious activities of people in general. However, he instructed his nephews about a history just to diminish their aggrievement. When the Supreme Personality of God, you got it here, okay, then I can't do my thing, appeared as the boar and killed Hiranyakashipu's brother Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu was very much aggrieved. In anger, he accused the Supreme Personality of Godhead of being partial to his devotees and derided the Lord's appearance as Varaha to kill his brother. He began to agitate all the demons and the Rakshasas and disturb their ritualistic ceremonies of the peaceful sages and other inhabitants of earth, for want of the performance of yagya sacrifice. The demigods began wandering unseen on earth. After finishing the ritualistic funeral ceremonies of his brother, Hiranyakashipu, who began speaking to his nephews, quoting from the Shastras about the truth of
self-realization.
Life, man. Life. To
subdue, pacify.
Yes, yes, to pacify them, he spoke as follows: My dear nephews, for heroes to die before the enemy is
Heroic. One. Victorious. Victory.
victorious. It is not victory, it's victorious. Okay, glorious actually. According to their different
Fruit.
Outcomes.
Foods.
fruit of activities. Living entities come
Together.
within this
Material
world and are again
Separately.
stated by the laws of
Three orders of
nature. We should always know, however, that the spirit soul, which is different from the
Body.
is eternal, yes, inadjustable, pure, all pervading, and aware of everything. You know what thing? Have you ever seen the Addams Family? Da-da-da-da. Okay. When bound by the material energy, the soul takes
Birds.
in
Higher.
and
Lower.
species of according to the varying association, and in this way receives various types of bodies in
Animal.
which, okay, in which to suffer or enjoy. One's affliction by the conditions of material existence is the cause of
Happiness.
and
Distress.
there
Forward.
are no other causes and
One.
should
Never. Never. Ever. Ever.
not be aggrieved upon
See.
the superficial actions of
Time.
one word, first syllable,
Car.
kar,
Ma.
ma.
Karma.
Hiranyakashipu then related a historical incident concerning a king Suyagya who resided in the country named Ushinar. When the
King.
was
Down.
killed, his queens, overwhelmed with
Distress.
grief, received instructions which Hiranyakashipu quoted to his nephews. Hiranyakashipu related an account of a Kulinga
Loud.
bird. Oh no, pierced, thank you, by the arrow of a
Hunter.
while lamenting for his
Queen.
wife, who had all
So. See.
had also been shot. Don't you get that one? So I'm sewing. Right? Okay. Also been shot by the same hunter. By narrating these stories, Hiranyakashipu pacified his nephews and other relatives and relieved them of
Grief. Distress. Sadness. Sorrow.
lamentation. Thank you. You always cut it loose. Was that you? Yeah. Thus, having been pacified, Diti and Rushabanu, Hiranyakashipu's mother and sister-in-law, engaged their minds in spiritual That's it. Haribol. Okay, great. Is it nice? We didn't do any Sanskrit today, but we'll try to fit it in somewhere, somehow. Okay, so now we're just talking about the loss of a life, and that is not irregular in this world. The person who bit the dust, so to speak, was Hiranyaksha. And Hiranya means gold in particular, yeah? So Hiranyaksha was the hoarder of gold, and his brother also. They were like, they had a lot of money. You know, they were like the Elon Musk of that time. I don't know if Elon is so demented in his mind, but at least we know he has lots of money. Okay, so then whenever there's a loss of life, friends, family rally around, and they try to give comfort to those who are going to be most affected. There are people who are grieving, and then there are those who are not grieving as much, but comforting, right? I think those two dynamics happen at a funeral. I do go to a good number of funerals. Every year I go to several, and I always start the chanting going because it's so depressing. I just have to tell you, so depressing. Everyone's in black, and I almost feel like saying to everyone, take those black coats off, clothes off, and put some yellow and pink in your lives. One of our devotees, maybe some of you know Savya Sachin, who's in Halifax. His wife died from a rare case of cancer. It shocked everybody, you know, because they had 3 little girls, and as soon as people heard, no, you know, like it was hard to believe. She was very talented. I worked with her in South Africa. We did, you know, we had her in the dramas, and she was a dancer, and she was also making cakes, and, you know, she was just so talented. And then we heard about this, and when it was very clear that she was not going to live long, she said, I don't want everyone to come in black. I want a day of celebration, celebrating life, you know. And so she asked for that. She asked for everyone can come in nice, you know, colorful clothes and celebrate life. Because, as you know, what is it? Jatasihi dhruvo mrityur dhruvang janma mritasya, which means as soon as there is birth, death will come. You can mark it, it's going to come. And as soon as death is a reality, birth will come. And it just goes in a cycle like that, right? So is there any need to lament? You know, I've actually told people when I get a chance to speak at funerals, said, so we're looking at someone here who's got a promotion, the person in the box. They're moving up. They're going to a better place. No, we're just trying to encourage everybody. And so Hiranyakashipu was trying to do the same thing over the death of his brother, speaking to the sons of Hiranyaksha and trying to comfort them. And he was very philosophical. Hiranyakashipu, the likes of Hiranyakashipu, and Ravana too, they were Brahminical by nature. I mean, they had Brahminical qualities. They would have been great preachers of the Hare Krishna movement if they didn't take some wrong turns here and there. So one of the things that he did to comfort them, he was just talking about the nature of the material world, and the example is there of the Kulinga bird, and a hunter took her life, and then the male counterpart was lamenting, and while he was lamenting, he was so much caught up in his emotions, he lost the sense of attentiveness and alertness, and so the hunter took advantage of that. What a sad story. Romeo and Juliet kind of thing, in feather form. And so it was Hiranyakashipu who got a little philosophical. He talked about a few things. One thing he said is, people come to a hotel and they settle down for accommodation. They might also, some of them will meet in the bar and have some drinks. That's what people do. So bland. What kind of a lifestyle is that? They drink poison and think this is wonderful. And they have a dead cow that they got exposed to some smoke, the flesh, and they eat that and said, oh, we are so on top of the world. And it's kind of Mayak, isn't it? Full of illusion, and a lot of these people, they claim, I'm an animal lover. Well, if you're an animal lover, then why are you eating one? Oh. So, Hiranyakashipu came up with this idea. He was talking about people come together from different cities and they settle down in, a Marriott hotel or something like that. And they're coming from different places. They have a few drinks and they talk, and they may never meet again. They'll just kind of go back to their respective homes and places and get about their business. They don't meet again. And the very nice natural example that he gives in the ocean. The ocean's got a lot of mysterious, elements to it. They're even recently finding that in the very lowest part of the and the darkest part of the ocean, in the depths, they found species they never ever had believed would be there. Some of them are pretty, like Rakshasa looking like. But, so the example he gave us that in the waters of the ocean, there's this, like seaweed. It kind of comes together. It gets entangled. You know how it is in the currents. Goes like this, and they kind of might lock in for some time, and then the currents come. Maybe there's a heavy current that comes from underneath, and then they separate these two pieces of seaweed, and they never come together again. Never, because once they hit the shore, someone's going to gather them and eat them. Is anybody into seaweed? Is anybody into seafood like that, green stuff? Ugh. For me, it's, to each his own, I guess you could say. But anyways, the point is people come together and then they disperse and they don't come together again. So how's that for some analogies? And it's not my work. It's the work of Hiranyakashipu, who's quoting from some Shastra. He's got the ideas from some enlightened people, Brahmins, and who are giving these analogies. So don't get too attached. Have you ever heard about people say, I'm trying to find my soulmate? Have you ever heard of those kind of people? Or if they found somebody that the chemistry is right and it clicks really well, say, I found my soulmate. And but it doesn't always happen. Actually, one of our devotees in Calgary, what's his name? Hari, forget his name right now. South Indian boy, a man. Grandfather now, and he wrote a book about this topic, soulmates. It's very interesting. He's a fantastic writer, and he just inserts in the entire book all the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So very, very skillfully, he's sort of hidden it. He doesn't give it a religious flavor, more of a scientific one. But the book opens very interesting. The setting is in an airport, and there's a man sitting there. He's got African descent, a black guy, and then there's a woman who's walking past. She's walking by, and their eyes meet, and ding! I know that person. Something resonates. And then they actually started talking and getting together, and they considered that they were now soulmates. Now I'm not going to tell you the rest of the story. You have to read it yourself. But it's all about soul mating, and everything goes really good, and then it turns a little sour in the end because they realize that she in a former life was a slave catcher, slave owner, and he was the slave, So that kind of they tried to go back. They went and researched in the deep south, if these people are really alive, because they had some idea they were these individuals. They related with them, so it kind of goes sour from that end. Can you imagine that? That's what happens sometimes. So since we're speaking about philosophy, the one thing that I really like out of the Bhagwatam is when Bharat, Jada Bharat. Does anybody know the story of Jada Bharat?
Yeah.
Jada means somebody's kind of slow, and he definitely portrayed that externally, but internally he was very evolved. And so he was big-bodied, so he appeared like a dullard, like he didn't have much up here, but actually had a lot up here. He just wanted to disguise it. People took him the wrong way, and he was kind of on his own. And there were these dacoits that, I won't give you too much of the story, but let's go to the point where, because he was big-bodied, he was enrolled to take up a job to carry a palanquin for the king. And he was one of 4 carrying the palanquin, because you have like 2 rods, and there's one guy here, nothing. And they took the King Rahugana for a ride. And while that was going on, because Jada Bharat is who he was a very advanced soul and very sensitive. So he was walking along and he saw these ants. And he said, I can't step on the ants, I can't, So because that was going on, and on for a long time, he said, who's responsible for this? So, everyone stopped, and the guys who were carrying the palanquin, the palaki, I guess that's what you call it, palaki, they looked at the guy who was responsible and said about it. It says, who gives you the authority to act like this, You make this ride proper, And then Jada Bharat got very philosophical. Especially when the king said, listen, I am the king, I'm the Maharaj, and you have to do what I say. So you know what Jada Bharat said? It's kind of like a smart aleck line. He said, well, you may be the king, and I'm the servant, but in a previous life, or in the future, I might be the king, and you'll be the slave. So can you imagine how the king reacted to that one? He got very, very upset, no doubt. But Jada Bharat persisted in his preaching, in his outreach. And the king just got very moved by this persistent saint, really. And it was... at one point, he just did one of those things, like if you ever see the movie Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon about Francis of Assisi. Francis he had voluntarily taken up a vow of poverty, and he lived like in rough clothes, like a yogi from India, right? And he went to the Vatican. He went to where the Pope was, and it's a very touching scene that the Francis is speaking to the Pope, the hierarchical, the pontiff, the guy at the top, and Francis was speaking so humbly, very philosophically. He was talking about, we don't need to accumulate much. Consider the lilies of the fields; they're just in one place, and they don't require any. The water will just come to them. The sun will just come to them naturally. So the Pope he got off his throne, and you have to see it. He comes down the steps, and everyone's wondering what's he going to do. All of his cronies, if I could use that term. That will be a bad word if anyone was Catholic here. He got off his throne, and he came and he put his head by the feet of Francis, kind of like a Vedic thing. And the Pope, I can't remember his name exactly, he just said, you put us to shame. He was talking about his people. And the reaction from the people, this is like, the way they reacted, just like the rabbis with Jesus, and all these people who have a high position spiritually can get very puffed up, right? And they're supposed to have all this wisdom. But it's only up here. It's not really here, right? And so they're missing something. Like we talk about smarta brahmanas, you have to really be careful about them. They are ritualistic. They yell and scream at people. They believe they have a monopoly on Dharma. No one else can get in there. So, you got to be careful of these kind of people, Prabhupada also warned us. If you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's warning us about certain people. If you go to, say, Radhakund, there's just a thick population of people who are so-called advanced, but they're actually just charlatan meditators. Most of them, not all of them. So Prabhupada warned us, don't go to these people. So mityachara, you've heard that term? It's in the Bhagavad Gita. Do you want to find it out? Mityachara, so uchate. Let's break up that word, mitya and achara.
Pretenders?
Yes, yeah, pretenders. If we break up the word, mitya means false, right? And acharya or achara refers to teachers, right? So we're going to find that verse. And it's right in the beginning.
3636.
Okay, mityachara sa uchate, yeah. So let's go to, you can learn that verse if you want. Pretender, when you break it up, this means false. Like mythology comes from this. Mythology. Science is real, but mythology is not. I want to share something with you. In mythological stories, there's a lot of truth. The essence behind mythological stories, there's absolute truth. Absolute. Just think about that. Okay, so pretender. Let's read this together. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. One who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on the sense object, certainly deludes himself, is called a pretender. Okay? There are many pretenders. Should we do it together? Is that better? Okay. 1, 2, 3. There are many pretenders who refuse to work in Krishna, but make a show of meditation, while actually dwelling the mind upon sense enjoyment. So these are the kind of things that we have to be mindful of. Prabhupada was a pharmaceutical person, he was selling drugs, like bona fide drugs, the pharmaceutical businesses. He was traveling around, and that's what he was doing. He was very good at his job, selling the point. And he would say sometimes in the drugstores, they have bottles with colored water, and it's not the real medicine. It's just, fake. But it makes you believe, just for a show display. Show bottle. Remember, he uses that term, show bottle religion or show bottle people. So it's not genuine, it's counterfeit. So we have to be a little careful and be very discerning and very discreet about who we talk to. Not just any person who's wearing saffron is a person who's qualified. Don't be fooled by the color. Color can lead you into dark places. Just like glare will do it, you go, they used to call Hollywood Tinseltown. People, let's go there. We can see the stars, there's one I was talking to Ganganath, he's with us for a couple of days. He said, I met a man from Colombia, because Ganganath is in LA, he lives in LA. He met a man from Colombia. I said, I came all the way from Colombia. I just wanted to come to Hollywood, and I wanted to see the stars and, entrenched in the sidewalk, where people get recognized, for their fame or their talent, So, Hare Krishna. Do not be fooled by the charlatan meditators, by the pretenders, or, those show bottle religionists, and don't be fooled. And, what is the way to check and balance this so you won't get fooled? What is the way to know if someone's genuine or not in the spiritual realm? Yes.
if it is coming through a bona fide disciplic succession.
Right, yes. Just, can you elaborate just a little bit more? Or you can take some help from others.
Like people who we are getting guidance from, we
Good.
can see whether they are.
What is that term?
Parampara,
What is the term for people who are giving guidance?
Guru,
Right, or
Sadhu,
sadhu,
Shastra.
and shastra is the other one, okay? So guru, sadhu, and shastra, those are the ways to check and balance, to see if you like, is this dude genuine or not? Or is he a fake? Is he a bogey yogi? Or, what do you call it? Phony baloney. And does anybody know what bologna is? It's a meat that stinks like anything. One time I was in Thunder Bay and I was doing a drama during the reading week with students, and our devotee there was putting on a yoga show. And we'd put on drama. We did one of the Ramayana. And I had one girl, she was the most qualified person. And she played the role of Sita, but she came to the practice one day after eating bologna. I says, oh my God, she wasn't really so qualified, but we worked with whoever we had to work with. So, okay, so, don't fall for the scarecrows. You know what a scarecrow is? Does anybody know a scarecrow?
Yes.
Yeah, there's somebody, they erect this thing. Like a scarecrow full of stuff with straw, and the birds will stay away because, there's a man there, you can't go there. They sometimes have, the pigeons, they come and poop all over the place. And you know how to scare them? How do you deter them?
We just have a dummy kind of thing which kind of scares them.
Well, what is that thing?
Yeah, this one.
No, well, that's a scarecrow, but what do you do? That's true. Take your pick, whichever one you like. But to keep away the pigeons, what a lot of people do?
Like
Having cats around.
Well, cats don't fly too high.
keep your feet like small, lightly.
Does anybody know? It's another bird. It's like a decoy. It's like a fake. It's an owl. You put an owl up there. So when we went to see Jai Shri, he's not here yet. When I said went to see Jai Shri in the hospital, at the entrance, they have an owl up there at the entranceway, right in the middle. And guess what? All the pigeons are sitting on it, pooping on it. It wasn't working. It wasn't doing his job, So basically, the real owl will do his job. He'll definitely scare these pigeons away. They'll just not come around. So just have to be careful. Be very discreet. That's the word to use in terms of going around trying to find the absolute truth. One has to go to the right source, to the people who know what they're talking about and who are walking the talk. Walking the talk. In other words, no hypocrisy, no two-face, no duplicity. You know what I mean by being duplicitous? Saying one thing, but meaning another. Saying one thing, I'm doing this, but doing another. So one has to be careful about those kind of charlatan meditators. That's how it's put there. And can anybody remember the phrase that Prabhupada used in the Bhagavad Gita to explain somebody who's better than a charlatan meditator? Does anybody remember? Can I give you a hint?
Sweeper.
Yes.
Sweeper.
Yeah, and?
Street sweeper.
Yeah. Better to be a humble sweeper of the street than to be a charlatan meditator, you know? So it's a matter of being genuine with your spiritual life. It's a matter of not, it shouldn't be just a facade, you know, it should come from here, you know. And while we're chanting Hare Krishna the morning, we try our best to be very focused, you know, and to make it very genuine as much as possible. So the time is up right now, and there's at least one or two heads that are bobbing, so I feel kind of bad about that. So if there's anybody who has any questions or comments, then I'd really be happy to hear about it, you know. Si, senor.
So Hare Krishna Maharaj, Maharaj, you said that we should not follow the bogus, the bottle meditators.
Yeah.
So some people are there, like they are devotees of Krishna, but they are following to such people. So what should we tell them?
Well, if you like those people, you try to steer them in a direction where they will be listening to the real deal, or what we used to say, the real McCoy. You know, bring them to the people who are enlightened. When Prabhupada was young, and I heard the story from Prabhupada, you know, in Atlanta, Georgia, where people talk like kind of funny, you know, different. Let's put it that way, all right? And Srila Prabhupada was talking about when he was first brought to see his Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta, in Kolkata. And Prabhupada wasn't so interested because he was in college at the time. His friend Naren brought him to see a very nice saintly person. Prabhupada said, I know these people. I know these kind of people. Because in their neighborhood where Prabhupada was growing up, there was a man who would don his clothes, you know, put saffron on, go to another part of the city and beg all day, and come back with money, and then just give it to at least he was giving it to his family, you know, but he was just putting on a show, an act, right? So, therefore, you know, we're just talking about being very genuine in what you do, being a real sadhu and not just a fake. Does that answer the question? Does it? What should we do? Well, Prabhupada finally met Bhaktisiddhanta then, and he was very impressed. He was really impressed. So if you see someone who's being, you know, sort of dragged by an individual who's not, let's say, being genuine about spirituality, then please help that person. Grab him by the arm, grab him by the, wherever, you know, grab him by the arm, by the hand, or grab him by the, hey, boom, Yasika, now I'm going to take you to someone who's the real thing. And that would show that you're doing your job then, you know. Anyways, this is not a real man, although he looks better than some humans that I've seen. Well, let's go for the real thing, you know. And before you settle on having a teacher, like the wonderful thing about ISKCON is that we've got a lot of great teachers, you know. Around every corner, Prabhupada said, there's a Brahmin, or a potential Brahmin, right? And our job is to make Brahminical people. We've got a lot of, you know, brilliance here in this room here. And everyone here is pretty genuine. In fact, you know, you're so good, you're like too good. There's a song, you're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. So, you know the song? You'll be like heaven to touch. I don't hold you so much. Okay, so it's, you know, let's go for the real thing. Let's go for the real thing. And kind of, ISKCON ensures this. Of course, sometimes you get a bad apple, you know, a rotten apple. We ever bought you know, in September you buy a bushel of apples. Have you ever done that, Pradeep, before? bushel of apples.
I've seen in the store, like there are some rotten.
Yeah, so there's a rotten one in there, and it makes all the other apples rotten. So what you have to do is take that rotten apple and throw it out, give it to the pigs or whatever, and then that'll ensure that if they won't contaminate, it's not going to be contaminated with the rest of the apples. So our job is to kind of keep things clean, you know? And it's up to the leaders to be a little bit watchdogs. If they hear someone's going a little astray in what they say, which does happen from time to time, and then that should be a red flag, right? Red flag. Okay, great. You had a point too.
Yes. You generally get what you seek for. People are getting a bogus guru. It means their desire was also bogus from within. Like whatever kathas we kind of, the pastimes we went through or we have gone through so far, whenever somebody genuinely was seeking for absolute truth, Narad Muni appeared from nowhere, like in Dhruv Maharaj's life.
Yeah, if someone is sincere, that's true.
So it means the desire was pure, and when someone's desire is not pure, they end up getting the bogus guru.
Yeah. What happens is even in the realm of food, you know, we eat all kinds of food and most of it's bad. People have a choice. You can have organic stuff. You have to go to those marketplaces where they sell those things. Most people just go for junk, you know? And even like pizzas, if you're eating pizzas every day, you know, it's white flour, it's lots of cheese, and for some people, even tomatoes not very good for you. And if you just keep eating that every day, you'll probably get fat, and you'll just, you know, you're eating, which you should do, but you have a choice. Why don't you get some good food? You know, get some organic stuff. You know? You have a choice, but go for what is recognized as genuine. You know? But in the choosing of it all, you have to have some idea of where to find the gold, the real gold, and not the fool's gold. You have to have an understanding of what are the qualities of real gold and not the imitational stuff. Anybody else? Yes, Prabhu? They're gonna fight over like for the next 5 minutes.
Yesterday I was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I was reading about Chota Das Thakur. So it was a great example of pretenders. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't like pretenders. He only talked to a woman to get rice for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discarded him from his association. And Srila Prabhupada wrote that it was not a big thing, and he didn't have that intention, but just to make an example out of it.
Right. Yeah.
So it was. I never saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that angry. Like he was really angry.
He was very severe. He was very rigid about it. That's right. And yes, to set an example. That's right.
Devotees came to him that please let him come back.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I will get up from here and I will go and you will never see me if you will talk about him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said that be true to if you're sannyasi, be true to that.
Mm-hmm.
If you say you're brahmachari, if you say you're one something, be true to that. Like Chaitanya
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So we have the point is we need to take our spiritual life very seriously, you know, and not be loose about it. Be very careful. I mean, I was just in Cuba, and there it's a very different culture. You know, people are very warm and very accepting, and they get very close, and everyone kisses each other to this side and that side. The women do it to the women do it to the men do it to the women. Everyone, that's the way it is. This is the culture. And, you know, it's very Spanish, you know, and so, but they do it, and it's out of affection, but it's not out of, you know, sensuality. It's just being warm and kind. That's, you know, it's just the way the culture is. And so, you know, I play a part in that too, and I just, you know, I have to get in there with them. When the first, let's say, when the French settlers came in here, around the 1600s, early 1600s. There was one fellow, his name was Etienne Brûlé. He was from France. He was a young guy. He learned the local language of the native people here in this area here, in the Toronto area apparently. And, he did it. Why? To blend in with the people, to gain acceptance. Of course, the story is that he got into some kind of argument and, he was killed, and then his heart was eaten. Hare Krishna. Okay. They won't tell you that kind of stuff too much, but the point is they blend in. Now it's Christmas time, and what the Jesuits first did when they came from France, they mingled with the local people, and they were trying to tell them about Jesus. And they were talking about, like, instead of a manger, the way the Middle Eastern presentation is usually done, Jesus by some cows and all that, they depicted it, the teachers, the Jesuits, in a slightly different way, slightly different way so that they could relate to it. Because our native people here, they didn't have any contact with Europe. They had no reference point whatsoever. So they just blended everything a little bit and adjusted it so that the native people could understand. And of course, the Jesuits were intent on converting them, to change their minds from this Manitou, like their god, the local god is called Manitou, and from Manitou to Jesus. So that's what they're trying to, their clear intent was to convert people. Did any of you go to Martyrs Shrine? I think we went there last year. We got Martyrs Shrine on the list. You'll find that place fascinating. We still have remains of the 1600s of where the French settled. It's an hour and a half north of here. Okay, I hope I didn't go off track too much, but I think the theme here is, let's say, well, what is the theme? What are some of the themes? And then we'll wrap it up with that. What were our themes here? Si, senor.
And don't be carried out by scarecrows.
Okay, all right. I like it. Any other theme?
Walk the talk.
Walk your talk. Anything else?
Be careful who you follow spiritual instructions from.
Be careful. Yeah, who you hear from. What else?
To know who are the pretenders and who are the real.
Okay, know the difference. Anything else? How do we start off?
Soulmates.
Don't get caught up in too much, don't get too much attached, because it's like we
Don't get too attached. Yeah,
Yes.
let's be aloof. Anybody else?
Death comes with birth and birth comes with death.
Okay, bravo.
You can know a lot of up here, but if you don't realize it here, then it doesn't matter.
Right, right. More important than being a jnani is being a bhakta. But it's good to have some jnana. Just keep that in mind. Otherwise you'll be a sentimental fanatic, and we don't need them. We don't need fanatics. We need fun addicts. Fun addicts and not fanatics. Okay? Is that, I think it's pretty good. I think we covered this. Let's stick to our program here. Who wants some mercy? Okay. Oh! Sorry. So thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhivata patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. I want to thank you very much for who's